Hey there, history buffs! Welcome back to another episode of Asterisk, the story of Temujin. So, picture this. It's the fall of 1162, and we're at the headwaters of the Onon River. The Mongolian steppe is buzzing. Nomadic camps are alive with activity. Herders are busy making cheese, butchering animals, salting meat for the long winter ahead. The women, they're off into the forests, gathering pine cones, wild onions, mushrooms, all the good stuff. And the men? Well, they're taking full advantage of the fermented mare's milk, living their best life before the harsh cold sets in. Autumn on the steppe, folks. It's like the sweet spot of the year. Plenty of harvest, a little downtime, just good vibes. And right in the middle of this golden season, in a humble little nomadic camp, our main man, the future Genghis Khan, enters the world. But before we get to the little guy, let's talk about his folks. His mum, Hoelun, wasn't always married to his dad, Yesugei. Yesugei was a Mongol warrior, already had a wife and kids, but he saw Hoelun, and, let's just say, he times wanted her. So he did what was kind of a tradition back then, though maybe not the most romantic one. He snatched her from her first husband. Yep, that's how these things sometimes went down on the steppe. But here's the thing, right after Yesugei brings Hoelun home, he's off again. Duty calls, or more accurately, raiding calls. He's off to fight the Tatars, a tribe that was pretty well off, thanks to their good relations with the Song dynasty in China. So cattle, grain, maybe a little glory. That's what Yesugei's after. While he's out there fighting, Hoelun gives birth to a son. And here's where the legend starts to get juicy. According to the records, this baby was born with something times extra times in his right hand, a tiny clot of blood. Now, the Mongols? They saw this as a massive good omen, a sign this kid was destined to conquer the world. But, predictably, his future enemies? They're like, nope, that's just proof he's born to be a barbarian. Of course, over time, storytellers couldn't resist spicing things up. That blood clot? In some versions, it becomes a sacred stone, or a jade seal, even a treasure. Talk about amplifying the myth. Now, Yesugei eventually comes back from his Tatar campaign, and lo and behold, he's got a son. Dude is over the moon. He names the boy Temujin, which in Mongolian means Iron Man or blacksmith. He's hoping his son grows up tough, strong, and ready to fight, a total warrior. But wait, here's a little twist I find fascinating. Some 18th century Mongolian sources claim that Hoelun was already pregnant with Temujin when Yesugei kidnapped her. So, according to that, Temujin's real dad was her first husband, Chiledu, from the Merkit tribe. But here's the thing about Mongol society back then. Bloodlines? Not the be-all and end-all. If a man acknowledged a child as his own, the whole tribe accepted it. So, regardless of that little historical debate, Temujin was Yesugei's son in the eyes of the community. Now, you'd think with a name like Iron Man, Yesugei would be super involved, right? But nope, he's a warrior, so he's out fighting, raiding, doing warrior stuff. So, who steps into that fatherly role a bit during Temujin's early years? A hunter named Jarukaidai. Jarukaidai was from a small tribe near the forests, the Uriankai. These guys were different from the steppe nomads. They were hunters, not herders. They didn't live in yurts. They built these cool little cone-shaped tents out of wood and bark. Some even raised reindeer, drinking the deer's milk and riding them to hunt. And when the snow got really deep, they'd strap on wooden planks, like primitive skis or sleds, and glide across the ice. The steppe Mongols thought this was wild, like, whoa, these guys can fly. They were a bit mystified, maybe even a little scared, thinking the Uriankai had some kind of magic. And Jarukaidai? He was supposedly the first to spot that Temujin was going to be someone special, the first to that whole blood clot as a good sign thing. But he was poor, couldn't even afford a horse. He walked over mountains just to see Temujin, bringing the most precious gift a hunter could, a thick black sable fur to wrap the baby and keep him warm. Sweet, right? As Temujin grows, Hoelun has more kids, 3 more boys, Kasar, Kachiun, Temugei, and a little girl, Temulin. Yesugei's first wife, Sugenjile, also has a son, Belgutai, who's a bit younger than Temujin's brothers. So by around 1170, Yesugei's household is pretty full. 2 women, 7 kids, all under 10 years old. Now, the Mongols didn't have calendars like we do. They tracked years by the moon, or when the grass turned green, how many times the forest has turned green, kind of thing. So we can't pin down exact birth years for Temujin and his siblings. But you get the picture. A bustling young family. Life back then was pretty raw. The men were mostly away, hunting, herding, raiding, so the women ran the show at home, making clothes from wool and fur, sewing the felt walls of the yurts. Felt was times super times important. They'd pound it tight, making it thick, warm, and waterproof. It was used for boots, for tent liners, you name it. Sometimes, when the men raided, they'd bring back fancy cloth from China, and the women would make really nice clothes with that. But weaving? That was beyond them. They didn't do that themselves. Metal? Scarce. So no pots. How do you cook meat then? Ingenious. Heat up stones in a cow dung fire, then drop those hot stones into a wooden bowl or a leather bag filled with water and meat. The stones would boil the water and cook the meat. And these folks were times thrifty asterisk. After cooking, they'd pass those stones around, scrape every bit of grease off them, either eating it or rubbing it on their skin to protect against the harsh, dry winds. And bathing? Forget about it. It was way too cold. So to keep lice away, most Mongol men would shave their heads, leaving just a little hair on the sides that their hats didn't cover, and their beards. So next time you see a movie with Mongol warriors rocking that bull toding, top of the head, with 2 little braids or tufts on the sides, it's not just a fashion statement. It's pest control. Practicality over style, for sure. So, there you have it. Temujin's early life. Born with a mysterious blood clot, a dad who's rarely home, a hunter who steps in like a surrogate father, a big family, and a pretty basic, rough and tumble existence. But here's what I'm left wondering. How does a kid growing up in such an environment develop the incredible toughness and smarts that would later define him? And just how big of an influence was Genghis? Really? What do times think? And what other challenges do you reckon young Temujin is going to face next on his path to becoming the Iron Man? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think that blood clot story is just a legend? Or do you love a little mystery with your history? Drop me a line.